enforcement is actually, first of all, force, right? So without the word force, it is not enforcement. So that conversation on Lagos is smelling is a hill I'm willing to die on. It is people who can afford it that are still dumping in the middle of the road. You can't drive a GLE to come and drop waste. It is insane. I'm using club now because religious people tend to be very touchy about it. I don't send.
Welcome to another episode of Everyday Money Matters. I am your host, Ogeva Imaswed, and today we're looking into the cost of pollution, how environmental fines impact small businesses. So imagine you open a buka, for instance, right? You're selling food, rice is boiling, everything is fine, customers flowing in and out, and LASEPA, the LASEPA officials just come in and they're not ready to buy food. Do you understand? They're seizing everything and locking your business up because you've not adhered to, the environmental rules and standards more like. Today, we have the ideal candidate to actually help us address this. And I have with me Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, who is the General Manager of LASEPA. Welcome aboard, Dr. Ajayi. We are very happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here too.
Yeah. So, in recent times, we've had a lot of, trends online with people saying Lagos is smelly, Lagos is dirty and all that, right? And in recent times, I've actually, seen a lot of cautious efforts, from your organization to actually trap this. So that's why we really piqued interest, and we're really happy to have you here. And let's just go straight into it, really. Okay. So why are so many roadside traders and SMEs being shut down or fined? Really, I think we'll start with that. Really.
Well, so thank you for having me. That question is quite broad and big. So when you say roadside traders, it could be people who sell their wares on the drainages.
Yes. So
we need to take them out of those places because one of the impacts of their activity would be to block the drainages. So things fall off their hands, it blocks the drainages. When you want to clear the drainages or when you have to clean them up, they're there occupying that space. And it's not possible in any ideal world to actually have roadside trading. As a matter of fact, roadside trading that is not controlled or restricted to a specific corner of a community is an evidence of dysfunction, right? So when you have roadside trading that is unregulated, that is just all over the place, it has to be stopped. Particularly in a mega city like Lagos, 1. 2, for the pollution value it has. 3, for the traffic value or the traffic impedance it causes. So people will stop to buy things and then obstruct the road. I mean, I can list so many examples that we've had to tackle at different points, but what essentially it comes down to is environmental nuisance. Roadside trading is an environmental nuisance.
It even has a ripple effect, really.
Yes. Yeah. It's as bad as hawking in traffic, right? The people who trade on the roadside would have to look for, a place to use the bathroom or toilet. When they don't find, they would pee on the road. They will poo on the road. And then it comes down to why certain spots will stink. Because these people are not organized. An actual market has minimum 5 to 10 toilets, right? If you trade on the roadside, first of all, you may not even be close to a market. So you don't have a place to pee, right? So they pee by the roadside and then the place begins to stink, right? So these things they're a whole environmental issue. We don't pick them in isolation. We understand the ripple effect of one simple, supposedly harmless activity. Right, a woman just puts a stall on the road on top of a drainage. She's selling plantain. Debris will fall into that drainage and block it. She will pee by the roadside and it will smell. People will stop by to buy plantain and they will obstruct traffic. While trying to, escape from that traffic, a child can just cross the road carelessly and get hit or knocked down. there's now the health impact of some of those things. So we don't just pick them in isolation. As a city, we think as a whole. There's also the aesthetic effects that we don't even talk about. You cannot have people trading on the roadside if you want the value of the real estate in that space to look good.
To be good.
So there are things that would drop the value of real estate. I mean, so it's a whole big conversation.
I won't want to move into this scenario you've described anyway. So I mean, you definitely have a lot more, in regards to that. So what are the common offenses really that
environmental offenses?
That you experience, the office experiences really.
Are you talking in respect to private small businesses now, or generally?
Generally, right? Because I think if we use small businesses, we're limiting it, right? Because there's definitely some bigger organizations that commit.
So generally, the easy way to categorize it is the pollution. Just say pollution on land, water, and air, right? So for air pollution, noise. Noise is a menace in many parts of Lagos, right? From entertainment houses to religious homes to event centers.
Never ending.
So the short-letty people have all over the place, So noise is the first problem. The second one would be fumes, So we say emissions, that's what we call them. So emissions from generators, emissions from open cooking, emissions from some industrial activity around people, emissions from even some religious activities. Smell or emissions, so the emissions can have an odor or not, right? So on the air side of things, I can easily just lock it in there, right? Noise and emissions.
And there's some people that just randomly burn their trash.
Yes. So waste burning is also a big deal, right? Because the emissions from it, the smoke from it, right? So any kind of smoke, any kind of smell, any kind of thing that generates all of those kinds of things constitutes air pollution. So that's on the one hand. For water pollution, Lagos is bounded by water. So we have 20 local governments, or 57, 20 local government, 37 LCDs. Out of the 20 local governments, 15 of them have access to the lagoon. Water. 1/3 of Lagos is water. So it makes sense that people will discharge things unguarded into water. So that's water pollution. So population density also has an impact on, the waste that each person generates. Right? Everybody must use the bathroom, everybody must pee. In very unregulated areas, these things end up in drainages and then end up in the water body. So it affects quality of marine life, ecology of the...
Just like those shanties that are by the water.
So those ones have... So there's impact on marine life and, the blue economy of Lagos. And essentially, water pollution is another big deal that you may not want to, properly break down here, but there's water pollution, right? The industrial clusters also try to strategically align themselves around big drainages, around, the primary drainages where the big canals and the lagoon and sometimes even the ocean, they are able to, so they can discharge treated water directly. So some of those things exist. So there's water pollution that we battle with, we contend with daily, and we give very hot pushback on. Then the land pollution. So on the land pollution, you talk about waste oil on the floor. For instance, almost everywhere where you have a generator that is not bonded, you have waste oil on it. The waste oil seeps into the ground. On some days, it affects underground water. There are burst pipes here and there, pipes carrying water or anything else. I mean, even
from household cooking.
For household cooking, underground tanks from filling stations, sometimes they leak and then pollute the land. So land pollution would also then spill into solid waste disposal, the sewage that people leak into the drainages in certain areas, and the carelessness of or the impunity of certain groups of people, on waste disposal in particular. So all of those things constitute land pollution, and those are the ones that you see most commonly. So those are the three broad categories. Now, why you will have those kinds of things, we believe, is one, a culture of no consequence. And so we're beginning to force that culture of consequence, which is why you see us shut down and issue fines and issue penalties, right? Because anyhowness starts with, a deficit in law and order.
Yes.
Right. So when you put law and order in place, that is where it starts from, really. And that is what the ministry has tried to do over the past 2.5 years, right? It is really just to insist that things must be done the right way. For all you know, the person who has suddenly woken up and started a bar or a church in a 3-bedroom flat, that in a block of flats, but one of the units
is a church. I've literally seen that.
The person knows that what he's doing is madness, right? But until there's a consequence and there's an instruction, an insistence that you must shut down,
they'll continue.
They don't mind that the other 5 units will sleep. Right. So it is the law and order, the fact that there's consequence. The consequence culture is what we're trying to enforce and insist on. So those are the 3 broad categories. And then, if you want me to zero in on any of them, or if you have specific questions around the finance or the economics around any of them.
Yeah, we'll get there, trust me. Okay. We'll get there. So, I mean, with what you've just said, what exactly is the cost, the honest difference really between complying and getting fined as a business owner? So you're the defaulter right now. Yeah. So what actually is the cost difference in that scenario?
So the way I like to approach cost conversations would be, one, the cost to the business. It is more expensive for the business to comply. That is why they're trying not to comply. For a business, for instance, the law says that you have to soundproof your space if you are setting up a club.
Yeah.
Soundproofing may not be cheap for someone who's trying to start small. So if we insist that before you start, soundproof your walls, then you have to build it from scratch. At the point of construction, you must include soundproofing. Depending on the size, some people spend almost 300 million soundproofing alone, right? The big clubs. Now, if you insist, then you have fewer clubs. You have fewer businesses that would actually start, right? So there's a cost to it.
Yeah.
Now, the cost of non-compliance is not to the business owner. It is the livelihood of the people around them, right? It is in the health, the quality of life of the people around them. And it doesn't just stop at one person. You can think that, only the people on my street are affected. But you have neighbors behind. You have the city, like when these neighbors complain, for every complaint we get at LASEPA, there is somebody attending to it within 48 hours, right? So the cost of setting off that entire line of command, the cost to government of moving around, of getting enforcement to happen, the cost to government of running an office in every local government to ensure that these things work, the cost to even the community itself. So when you start, I'll just give you a simple example. When you start a club, I'm using club now because religious people tend to be very touchy
about it.
I don't send.
Yes. and I agree with you, to be honest.
So when you start a club, it doesn't just end at noise. There's miscreants that you attract. Well, maybe not the word miscreants, but there are boys that would always be around you because they see big cars come around, right? So they will come try to help you park and all of that. So those people will pee on the road and do whatever they have to do on the road. There are people peddling drugs and things around it. So it means that you have drug peddling around. There will be prostitutes who just roam around, right? That reduces the quality of that community, So there's land pollution, there's water pollution, there's air pollution from just that one business that has entered into a street that is occupied by retirees.
It shouldn't even be there
in the first place. Now, so what then happens is that these men or these old men lose the sleep. They have trucks, maybe the sewage trucks or the waste trucks come in once.
Even delivery trucks as well.
Delivery trucks. So you have an entire influx of people. The road usage has increased. So there will be more wear and tear, all kinds of things. The power into that community, everything is impacted, right? So there's a cost to every environmental nuisance. And that cost is not seen by the business owner, which is why we must impose fines, penalties, and levies. And there is no city in the world that doesn't thrive or make decent amounts or income from levies, penalties, and fines. Lagos cannot be an exemption.
Yeah, definitely. So so for someone working with the scenario, the club scenario you mentioned, right? How would your office approach that business? You understand, to ensure they comply? I think I just want to address the ignorant part of it, because from what you said, these are things we see every day, but we don't really think that far. I mean, at best, we're like, why are you throwing the dirt on the road? You shouldn't be doing that, right? Or you're in traffic, but you're only offended when you are affected, you're in traffic, right? So it's really dawning to understand how far and how deep this goes. So how would a business that comes with everything you listed, how would your office approach it?
So typically, when you're trying to start some of those kinds of businesses, right? When you get physical planning approval to convert your building for this purpose, we give a sign off with the condition that you must soundproof. However, we are not the physical planning agency, right? So we cannot exactly monitor your construction, right?
Okay.
But you know that you got a sign off on the condition that you soundproof your space, so it doesn't impact or affect your neighbors. That's one. Number two, when you begin to cause a problem or when you begin to cause nuisance, your neighbors will complain, because we have several complaint channels, right? They will reach out to somebody. Lagos is too small for everybody not to know everybody, so they reach out to someone. When your neighbors complain, we take it up. We visit the place, identify all of the environmental problems, even beyond what your neighbor has complained about. Your neighbor may have just complained about noise. But when we come there, we identify all of the environmental problems, and we give you time, a set frame to fix everything.
Tidy up.
Yeah. If you don't, but that's first warning that has all of those environmental problems listed. It's called an abatement notice. So it is the first notice you will get. But it will
Take note, guys. Abatement notice.
Abate. So it means abate this nuisance.
Yes.
Within this time frame. Depending on the size and the extent of the nuisance, it could be within 24 to 48 hours. It could be 7 days sometimes.
Yeah.
If it is something that is structural, that has to be, it's not realistic that you break down an entire building in 24 hours. So if it's something structural, we may give you up to a month or 3 months, depending on how massive it is. But
that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
But the first one you get is an abatement notice. Now, if you ignore that notice, and you continue to flout that, the regulations. There are laws and there are regulations, and most people know. Nobody can pretend they don't know, right? So if you continue to flout the regulations, then we give you a pre-sanction notice. It means that this is a second warning, pre-sanction. So this is just before a sanction. And that comes,
because it's getting close.
Exactly. Yeah. So that comes after the first abatement notice. Then if after the pre-sanction notice, you still go on and continue the nuisance, then we'll come with a fine, we'll shut you down or seal you up for a certain period till you fix up. We make sure that you engage your neighbors. Of course, in our presence, we're going to call everybody to the table. So there's the fine part, there's the actual correction of the problem, of the nuisance. Yeah. Then there's the social correction side, right?
As the environment, the people that stay around.
So also, we take the opportunity to engage and sort of educate you that the environment is bigger than just your own personal space, right? What you do impacts everybody around you. And you shouldn't just think that you're a standalone business. And it's not just about profit for you alone. In addition to that, there are certain ESG compliance metrics that you must adhere by. So we show you all of those things, and then we watch you fix them or not. If you don't, you remain sealed.
And that's how you know a business has been thriving since 3 years down the line. They just come and lock it up.
Yeah.
you know, and you know how we are in Nigeria, sentiments, and these people are wicked, right? But they get to, they are totally blindsided by the habits,
Sanction.
pre-sanction. Yeah. So they are obviously unaware that the business owner, small business trader, whatever, has been given enough time to actually do that. And that's, how do businesses get to know all these standards? So your office provides, right? So how can they actually get, you know, knowledge on all the things that they're supposed to at least adhere to?
So at the point of setting up, there are certain approvals you must get, right?
Okay.
There is no way you're going to get a physical planning clearance because you're going to be doing remodeling, or you call it renovation, right? You're not going to get a physical planning clearance without them sending you first to LASEPA. So you know all of this. So you're told all of these things.
And like a checklist.
There's a checklist. You would be referred to a copy of the law. So there's a law that we follow. It's not just random out of the air regulation. No, there's an environmental protection law, 2017, that we follow in Lagos. And this law is very clear on so many things, right? That has to do with the things that have to do with your business. So you know about these things. If you claim not to know, there's no way you're starting a business and you have not spoken to somebody who does the exact business, right?
Yeah, exactly. You've done your research. You have to have done your research.
So in doing your research, they would have told you also that, see, if you do this, this, and this, LASEPA will come for you. It's like claiming ignorance that there's that you want to be burning your waste. No. Because you already know, you see Loma trucks everywhere. You know that you should pay to dispose your waste, right? So when you're trying to be ignorant, then it's madness.
You know what? I actually relate with you saying, right? Because as you're talking, I just, you know, the issue of people throwing their waste in the middle of the road. I still don't understand the ideology behind it. And it is so annoying to just drive past. At least you left your location. You didn't even trash it in front of your place. You just dumped it in front of the road. And I know that can be very daunting to actually tackle. So how have you guys at least attempted curbing that? 'Cause it is annoying. It is really annoying.
So I think that we first need to understand that there are cultures all over the world, right?
Going back to that.
Yeah. If you go to certain communities outside Lagos, there are things you can't do.
Yeah.
Right. There are communities you can't walk in after midnight in Nigeria, in Lagos, right? There are communities where they do certain practices and you have to comply by them because you live in that community. So when you come to Lagos, even if you're coming from a culture where you don't pay to dispose waste, or where every community has a central market where they go to dump their waste, you must first understand that this is Lagos. We cannot afford that. We don't even have that much space to think about dumping waste anyhow. Number two, there's already a structure that has worked over the past, 20 years, where you have to pay to dispose your waste, as it is obtainable everywhere in the world. Every human being generates about 5 kilograms of waste daily. And it makes sense that you must pay to dispose it because waste costs money to take care of. Right?
It's someone's job.
It's someone's whole work.
Yeah.
Right. So you must pay to dispose waste. Now, for people who have refused to, and which again goes back to the culture of consequence, right? It is only when somebody is arrested and made an example of that you can now see people retracting and trying not to do it.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the scapegoat.
Exactly. So people will continue these things until they see you make examples of other people. And that is when they will start retracting. So what we've done so far is to make examples. And we arrest people every morning, every day, post it on social media. Same thing with open defecation. Arrest people every day, post it on social media, show the world that this is what this person has done. This person has gone to jail. People have done 3 months in jail for dumping waste in the wrong place. People will drive their Mercedes-Benz, go to the top of a bridge
and throw it out. Wow.
People will bring their GLE. I cannot understand it. But again, it goes back to the culture of consequence. If you are taken away from your family for 3 months in a jail, you would come back and preach and tell everybody around you not to try it again.
Not to try it again. Yeah.
Because again, it's not worth
It's not worth it really at the end of the day when could have taken you way less
Yes.
to actually
Pay
address
to
it.
dispose your waste. Normal PSP will come, pack it, and take care of it. Right? That is what a normal person should do. Focus your own attention on going to work. Just go to work, come back. Your waste should be put in front of your house. Pay your bill every month, and it's taken care of.
So it sounds so easy, right? Straightforward, right? This and letting people know there's somebody waiting out there to just break it, right? So, with all this, right? There are definitely things, expectations that like LASEPA has from the public, really. So I would like for you to share that, and I want to believe that different types of businesses, whatever it is, from a street trader to a club or whatever, their waste size determines the different prices. So can you just shed a little bit of light on what LASEPA actually expects, from the public, as against them having to end up being fined, sealed, or paid for fines?
First, I will say that all of the information people need is, first of all, on all of our websites, it's on our platforms. We push it out every time. We do road walks, jingles every time, right? But I'll go back to on the air side. One of the most common complaints from the air quality side is bad generators, fumes from generators entering the next person's home. If your generator is bad, fix it. The smoke from your generator should not be the reason someone cannot sleep in their house. Right? So the simple things, really. But unfortunately, people know. People know these things. And I'm not assuming. I know that they know, right?
Yeah.
However, on the air quality side, we expect that people dispose their waste appropriately. The drainage in front of your house is your business, right? You must clear it. Yes, clear the drainage in front of your house. It's just tidy. Growing up in Lagos, we had sanitation once in a month.
Yeah, Saturdays.
The last Saturday of the month. As a kid, you would handle a rake. You would see, you see your parents handling a rake. You would collect it. You would try to do it. So there's that culture that we understood. And I use this example a lot. Growing up as well, we had tadpoles in our gutters, right? You don't see that anymore because the pollution has the population has more than quadrupled. So
yeah, right.
The pollution has increased.
And they're literally swimming with the currents.
Swimming with the currents. You can even see clear water. You can see spirogyra. You can see those green things, but you don't see that anymore.
Bottles, plastic bottles, bowls.
Yeah. So these things are the whole environment has changed, and what we're trying to do is to reverse to the order, right, where everything is clean. People take responsibility. And I think that's the message, really. Take responsibility for your own environment, the immediate space you occupy, right? The water around you, the air around you, your own sewage, your own waste. Take responsibility and dispose it appropriately.
Yeah.
Don't be a menace or a nuisance to your neighbors or to anybody around you. You shouldn't be the reason your entire neighborhood is smelling.
You shouldn't be the reason.
Yeah.
Really.
Apart from body odor or mouth odor.
Personal hygiene. It still works. If you have 5 people with body odor in one place, there's a problem automatically for everyone else. Yeah. So, thank you for that. And so a lot of people complain about, the LASEPA enforcement being aggressive. Even in some cases, even extortionate. Like, so what would be what is your response to that, really?
So first of all, there's a reason it's called enforcement.
Yeah.
Enforcement is actually, first of all, force, right? So without the word force, it is not enforcement. So you must bring police. You must shut them down. That is why it is called enforcement. And it's not just out of the blues. It is after you've gotten these warnings, right? So you already see it coming because you have done the unthinkable. You have burnt our resources twice. You have been a menace to your neighbors. Pre-sanction. You have been a menace to your neighbors. So you don't deserve that courtesy anymore. That is why it is called enforcement. So enforcement has to be with force. And so when you say it is forceful, it is brutal, yes, that is what it's supposed to be. It is enforcement. That's why it's called enforcement. When you're going to arrest a criminal, you're not going to be saying, "Oh, Mr. Man, can you walk close to me?
Please.
Yeah, please come out." Yeah. No, you must see the force. It is called enforcement. When you are enforced, you will come to the office. You will get a fine. It is compulsory because, again, every city must have fines, levies, and penalties. You must get a fine, and you must pay that fine. It is the penalty. Without a consequence, you will go back to doing the same thing. I mean, if your child does something and you don't correct,
you do it again.
Yeah. And when I mean correct, I don't mean face the wall, will you do that again? No. I mean actual smacking. Right? If you don't smack that child, I mean...
Spare the rod, right?
Yes. Madness is in the chest of a child.
Yeah.
So you must enforce one. There must be consequence, which is the fine. Then you must sign an MOU or... Yeah, let's say an MOU that you will not return to that madness and you will fix the problem.
Otherwise, it's going to be bigger for you.
Exactly. So the fine has to be incremental. So if you come now and we give you a fine of 500,000, the next time we meet you and we have to enforce you again, your fine will increase. And it makes sense.
It does.
Yeah. So when businesses raise all of these eyebrows about, oh, we're paying fines. Yes, you should pay fines. Because we didn't come to you smiling. I mean, we wrote to you twice.
You gave me all the time.
Yes, we then had to bring police to seal you up. They are complaining that it's forceful. Yes, it should be forceful. And this is the only way to make people comply.
Yeah.
If you don't do these kinds of things, you will see a proliferation of random businesses or random things in every corner.
Popping up here and
there. Who doesn't like to have a live band on every... I mean, a business owner that owns a restaurant wants to have a live band on every street. But because there are rules like this, there are enforcement procedures like this, they know it doesn't make sense. You're not going to kill your neighbors because you want to dance.
Make this, you make money.
Yes. So it shouldn't be at the detriment of other people's lives and their quality of life. So we insist that, yes, there must be enforcement. Extortion, I am not aware, and I don't think it happens because every enforcement is signed off by the Office of General Manager.
Okay.
And the reopening procedure also has to be signed off by the office, or by my office. So if I sign off 10 places to enforce, by the time you are reopening them, I must see the evidence of 10 MOUs.
Complying.
Yes, compliance. MOUs compliance, plus the fines, the penalties that they have paid to the government account. So if you have paid penalties to government account, and you are stupid enough to still dash somebody 5K, that's on you.
The money is gone.
By the grace of God. But in the first place, you must pay the stipulated penalty for this offense. And I think that's a fair thing we've done so far. If anybody has complaints of extortion, they can reach out to me. I mean, I'm available everywhere. I'm accessible, on all social media. They reach out to me, I'll immediately take it up from there.
Okay, that's good. So, I mean, I hope you guys have heard. Please ensure to adhere. We only see when enforcement is happening, but we never really know how long and how much time they've been given. So moving on a little bit off, right? Are there any income opportunities for Nigerians, in the environmental space?
So I think that yes, there are. There would always be business opportunity in any area that is a bit chaotic, right? Or that people like to flout. So one, from trying to help people comply, so people in the environmental space, I can even talk about the LASEPA side, or I mean, generally, people are into recycling. Recycling makes people a lot of money. Recycling of plastic waste, recycling of oil waste, both cooking oil and engine oil, is big money for so many people. So people have been doing that, and we license them. We've been overseeing that space for a while. I dare say that it is a big industry, and it is not something that you should just overlook, right? Going down to several other things, like the entire noise community. The noise community has those selling sound meters, has those selling the what's it called now? Soundproof equipment.
Your paddings.
All the paddings. So there are people who do that as a business, and they are big in their own way. They are doing their thing. I mean, doing padding for all the churches and all the places. So those things exist, and people they take good advantage of them. So the environmental space again is massive, is big. You can pick your own sphere or your own niche and then develop it or curate it to raise your finance.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's split into air, land, and water.
Correct.
Anyway. So, yeah, thank you for breaking that down. And before we close, final advice: what would you advise the average small business owner, the likes of people selling food on the road, roadside traders, people that fix phones, people that sell cases, so what advice would you give them to avoid, disaster, which really from their own end is disaster, because they're probably going to get shut down or, sent. Say, what advice would you, give them?
So the first thing is that there are rules and there are regulations. There are laws in the land, right? Whatever business that you have to do, go and find out all the laws around it. Ensure that you understand the regulations. And I personally feel that's where it starts from, right? You can't solve a problem you don't understand. You can't run a business in an environment you don't understand. I mean, what's it called now? I'm in the environmental space. I'm not going to go and start a club business. I don't understand it. I'm not going to go and start a church. I mean,
as working against double standards, right?
So again, whatever business you're going into, you must understand it. Understand the regulations around it. And I think that's where it starts from. If you understand the regulations, then you know not to fall short. And you know to do it properly. Secondly, whatever it is you think can be a problem to your neighbors, particularly on the environmental side, fix it as soon as you can, right? In fact, don't let it even start. Starting from your kitchen oil, once your kitchen oil gets into the drainage, it clogs up and it begins to stink very badly. So that is a problem for your neighborhood. So you need to get fat traps in your kitchens, for instance, right? The noise from your space, make sure it doesn't come out, right? Anybody who signs up to enter a noisy club has paid to enter. Just know that you want to go and deafen your heads. It's okay. But your neighbors should not be your specimen, right? So you must obey the regulations. You must stick to it. If you get to the point of enforcement, you will get enforced, and it is not negotiable. Lagos is open for business. We're open to business. That we shut you down does not mean we are not open to business. It doesn't mean we are shutting businesses down. No, we're not randomly shutting businesses down. We're shutting recalcitrant businesses down. So businesses are thriving. Lagos is a multiple billion-dollar economy, and businesses are thriving every corner, right? But if you are recalcitrant, meaning that we have warned you a few times, and then we will shut you down. Then you don't deserve to be in that space, right? So we need to understand that. Lastly, I know that Lagosians are very law-abiding, and when you see something, you need to say something. Report it when you find it. If you see an obstruction or an impedance to the work, to the good work, then please blow the whistle. And we'll be there to.
I was going to ask that. Can you share any hotlines or direct contacts?
Typically, we have our numbers on our website. But our website is lasepa.gov.ng. Right? So it's a government website. lasepa.gov.ng. Everything you need to find, you need about the laws, the regulations, all of the things we do, you find on that website. The air quality of Lagos is displayed live on the website. So every time you click it, there's an air quality drop down. You see it. It shows the map of Lagos and the air quality in different local governments and what it looks like. So on that website, you see all the complaint lines. We're on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. When you drop a complaint there, someone will pick it up and then immediately action it. We usually respond within 24 to 48 hours turnaround time. And response is, first sending a warning to the people and say, we've seen this. And it's written, it's delivered in hand. Someone acknowledges receipt. So we know that you have received the warning and, we'll deal with it. So you can get on our website and get all of our contact numbers. Go on social media and report your people, and we'll be right here. One thing we need to realize is that smelly air is not necessarily dangerous air to the health. They are two different things. People have body odor. It doesn't kill you. It doesn't kill them, right? The fact that something is a nuisance value.
Yes.
And the nuisance is more aesthetic than actual detrimental health value. So yes, there's a dump site there. It will smell. There's no dump site in the world that doesn't smell. It is a dump site. You live next to a dump site. It will smell.
Excuse me.
But it has not killed you. Do you know anybody that has died from the dump site?
No.
So the nuisance value is there, which is the bad air. And this is a fight I'm not ready to start on the media. I know that it's going to give me a lot of pushback and everything. But yes, it is a dump site. What do you expect? So you cannot label the entire Lagos with Olusoso and say Lagos is smelling because Olusoso is smelling. Everywhere else I've asked them. There was a street in Lekki Phase 1. It has 7 restaurants. 7 restaurants. And each of those restaurants pours their oil into the drainage. So I had to go there, shut down 4 of them. The remaining 3 has to get there. So the oil stinks once it's in the gutters.
It clogs, it blocks it.
So what then happens is that the entire place begins to smell. So when those ones you can't fix it immediately. Because in 3 days, everybody fixed up. Shut down 3, the remaining 4 fixed up.
Straight up.
And everybody cleared the gutter. They packed it. You didn't see everything was cleared. Right? So when you say a place smells, it is because there's something that's smelling there. It is not random smell.
Yeah.
So if your corner smells, then you are dirty. If you live in a close, like that copper girl that came out and says, oh, she couldn't jog on her clothes. If you live in a close and that close smells, then the person whose frontal is smelling, that person is a dirty guy. Because, government will not come to the front of my house in my clothes and come and pack my gutter. Doesn't make sense. I will be responsible for my drainage.
You have to, it's your trash and whatever that's going in there.
So when we're growing up, if you didn't want another person's trash to spill into your house, we used to put nets. Yes, you remember those big hole nets?
Yes.
We put net would trap all the nylon and everything. And then the person whose house has all the nylon will see it by himself. Yes, the person too will pack his own. And say, no, this thing is coming from another place, come and block my own. And that was the beginning of proper sanitation. But someone went to court with Lagos State and took Lagos State to court and said, oh, we can't continue like this because of the restriction in movement. The Constitution allows every Nigerian to move around whenever they want. So 7 to 10 a.m., she said that movement restriction is a problem. That was why we stopped it.
That's the environmental sanitation.
Yes, that's where the environmental sanitation stopped.
I hope she's happy now.
Now, down the line, everybody's complaining. But I gave you the example of our gutters then. When we were kids, we used to be excited.
Really? Tadpoles?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I can't remember, but we used to scoop poles and you scoop them and take them to school.
All the time.
Till they turn into...
we used to scoop them.
Yeah.
But now you can't find them in any gutter again because people are now dirty. But then that was the culture. Now, the second side to it is that to reverse that, if you don't want that culture because people value their 7 to 10, what you must now do is to make people pay for cleaning the gutter. So it means you have to create a separate environmental fee that every household must pay every month. And if they don't pay it, you then fine them. But you see that additional tax is one thing I'm sure people don't want to pay. And that's why things are a bit...
they won't want to pay it.
So imagine I bring a 12,000 naira to you every month and say, this is for cleaning your gutters. You would rather clean your gutter yourself. Yeah, so people, an additional tax is something that any government will be hesitant to introduce. But the alternative is that you do it yourself. Clean the gutter.
That would be the bone of contention. Yes. If you come to my house and tell me I should pay 12,000, I'll tell you why. Something I can clean myself.
Exactly.
Why are you forcing me to pay 12,000?
So clean it yourself. If you're not cleaning it, it also it's not efficient if government has to send people to your house every week to make sure that you clean it.
Drainage. They've already done enough helping you take your trash.
It's stressful.
It's your house though.
People want government to do every single thing. In fact, if it's possible for government to be helping you breathe. But in the big communities they reference us with, or the big cities they reference us with, they don't take this kind of nonsense.
Culture is even different.
Yeah. You cannot say in London you want to drop your trash somewhere. You're in trouble.
It doesn't. You don't even need an enforcer. A citizen will literally call you back, call your attention. You drop this, pick it up.
The waste separation, we've been battling with waste segregation at home for the past 10 years. I know how much advocacy. In fact, there's a whole department whose job is to announce everywhere that you must buy 3 bins, put your plastic, put your paper, and put your organic waste. They've been doing it in America, in other cities for the longest time. They separate their waste. Because if you don't separate it, you get a fine. And that fine increases. And it's enforced. And it is tied to your identity. It's tied to your ID.
Yeah, getting them to even buy one bin is already a lot.
See, people are still dumping in the middle of the road. And people, it's even worse that it is people who can afford it that are still dumping in the middle of the road.
Really.
You can't drive a GLE to come and drop waste. It is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. So you can afford it. You can afford a bin. You're driving a whole car.
Hundreds of millions, right?
You can afford a bin. Just buy a bin. Just put a bin in front of your house. If you can't even buy the fancy one, buy a drum. A drum is less than 10K. Buy a drum. All those used chemical drums. Just buy one. Put it in front of your house. Put your waste inside. Lawman will come and turn it in. Yeah. And that's it. Mm-hmm. So that conversation on Lagos is smelling is a hill I'm willing to die on. I share the air quality of Lagos every week, every Tuesdays on my social media. LASEPA has live air quality monitoring. The air quality measures the particular matter that can impact your health, right? Because that is what's more important. The nuisance value, yes, it is, but people overlook nuisance value and still build next to Olusosun.
Yes.
Yeah, people still do it.
People are renting pumps on paid rent today.
People are paying rent in Makoko. People are overlooking nuisance value, and they are building in every space. Land, Lagos doesn't have oil. Land is our oil. So people, every inch of land you find, so long as you can,
I can build here.
Yeah, people build next to canals. They know they will see snakes and rats. They still build there. They will build big fence. You build in Ajeguna, you know that there will be issues. You still build there. And so people will build. People will do those things, but the actual one that concerns the city is how it doesn't translate into a health problem. So we'll measure the air quality. Yeah. And we do that. We publish our data. In fact, we are renowned in Africa for our air quality work. Okay. Next week, I'll be in Kenya discussing the air quality achievements that we have had in Lagos, right? So it's not just talk. There's a lot of work in it. But the average guy on the street doesn't even know that there's a particular matter in air that impacts his health. Right? He doesn't know. His own is smelling. I mean, that's the height of, okay, smelling. It's okay. What is smelling? The waste that you have in the middle of the road, the gutter in front of your house. Then that is your responsibility. Take care of it. That's your responsibility. Until we start to make people responsible, individuals responsible. When you say government is this, government is that, government is not God. Government is not invisible. It is human beings. That's why I can tell you that if anybody extorts you, let me know.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend you. I've never had those issues. So.
If anybody extorts you, because the government, I mean, we are human beings. The people in civil service are human beings. They put in all of that. And I mean, the civil servants are one of the biggest, people who commit their time to work. These people are putting 25, 30 years of their lives into making sure that LASEPA works, LOMA works. And as an entire youth, you know. So if someone has put in an entire youth to make sure that, you know, your business works or your city works, then they know what they're saying. They know the value of the work. They are pursuing it. They must do it. And I think that amongst all the cities in Nigeria, Lagos still trumps. Lagos is still far ahead, miles ahead. If you go to Ogun State, you are looking for noise pollution. Wow. People in Alagbole, where there's boundary between Lagos and Ogun, Alagbole will call me. I say, no, I can't cross.
That's not Lagos, right?
Go and meet your own people. Let them say, that's not Lagos.
Okay. Thank you very much. So you heard it, right? So whenever you make complaints, you don't necessarily need to expect it to happen at the snap of your fingers, right? There's a procedure to 24 to 48 hours, but definitely a message will be sent out to, to the culprit, really. And I want to thank you very much again, Mr. Ajayi, for sharing some insights into this. Right?
You're welcome.
So for all you business owners, it's best for you to comply. If you don't know, go to lasepa.gov.ng to find out all the things you need to adhere to so you don't get to pay a fine or get your business shut. And we round up now. And thank you again, Mr. Ajayi, for being part of it. We'll see you guys next week. Take your time. Bye.